Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today's build is Dave Strider, the coolest of cool kids. As with my previous Homestuck videos, be wary of spoilers because they will happen. For a bit of background, Dave grew up in Houston, Texas with his older bro. Unlike John and Rose, Dave was taught to fight from a very young age, at the expense of being taught anything else, like how to do laundry or the actual function of a refrigerator. Bro Strider was not a very good guardian for a child. Dave ended up playing Spurb with his friends on John's 13th birthday, and would go on to ascend to godhood as the Knight of Time. So what do we want from this build? Well, we need to be able to fight. Dave is skilled in swordplay with his Blade Kind and 1/2 Blade Kind Strife Specify. We also need some time powers, which Dave primarily uses to summon versions of himself from alternate timelines to help him fight. And we'll need to engage in the ancient Alternian art of slam poetry, which is to say, we need to lay down some ill fires with our rap skills. Looking over at ability scores, we'll be using the standard point array. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, just make sure that your strength and charisma are high enough to multiclass. Starting off with a 14 in strength, we'll need it if we're going to break enough swords to use our Strife Specibus. Next, we'll dump dexterity for the sole reason that Dave draws Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff. Constitution is our highest stat because Dave was able to survive his upbringing and has only gotten tougher from there, and we'll put our 10 into intelligence. Dave isn't dumb by any means, we just need other things more. Wisdom will be 12. Dave is probably the most emotionally mature of the kids by the end, and has a knack for cutting straight through unnecessary or arbitrary restrictions and expectations. And we'll finish up with a 13 in charisma, because Dave is literally the cool kid, he needs good charisma. Like his sister, Dave is a variant human. We'll round off Constitution and Charisma, take Insight for our skill, and the Mobile feat for some flash stepping. Our movement speed increases by 10 feet, we ignore difficult terrain when we dash, and we don't provoke opportunity attacks from creatures we attacked in the same round. Unlike his sister, who resented her mom and later realized her mom was doing her best, Dave idolized his bro, and then later realized that his upbringing was incredibly abusive and traumatizing. So while we could use Entertainer for our rap skills, I'm gonna go with Haunted One instead for proficiency with Arcana and Survival. Dave starts off as a straightforward sword guy, so we'll start off as a fighter, getting us 2 skills from the fighter list, like Acrobatics and Athletics, for our sweet ninja moves and acrobatic fucking pirouettes. For our fighting style, Dave uses his swords with 1 or 2 hands interchangeably, telling me that they're usually long swords, so go with Dueling for +2 damage whenever we use our sword one-handed. We also get Second Wind to heal 1d10 plus our fighter level as a bonus action once per rest. Dave doesn't really have healing powers, so flavor this as him stepping away to a different time to take a quick break, then hopping back into the fight. For another time power, go to 2nd level for Action Surge, letting us take a second action on our turn once per rest due to our impressive time management skills. 3rd level fighters pick a martial archetype, and Echo Knight is great for people who fight with more than one of themselves, and also for people who are literally called knights. It works on multiple levels. As a bonus action, we can summon an alternate Dave. This doomed Dave has 1 HP, immunity to all conditions, and AC equal to 14 plus our proficiency bonus. We can move him 30 feet on our turn, but if our turn ends and we're more than 30 feet away, he disappears. Do note that according to the rules, he does not have a speed. We can just move him 30 feet in any direction, which can include up in the air. There's no limit to the number of Doomed Daves we can call on, but we can only have 1 summoned at a time. While Doomed Dave is around, we can spend 15 feet of movement and our bonus action to be the other guy, magically swapping places with him. We can also make attacks from his space using the attack action, as well as opportunity attacks from his space as if we were in it. A number of times per day equal to our Constitution modifier, we can unleash Doomed Dave's Fury, making an additional attack from his space when we use the attack action, meaning with our Action Surge we can make 4 attacks in 1 round. 4th level fighters get our first ability score improvement, and I'd like some more time powers, so take Magic Initiate for 2 cantrips and 1 1st level spell from the Wizard list. Mending rewinds a broken object to a point before it was broken. Message isn't really a time power, but we're a cool kid from 2009. We definitely have a cell phone to text our friends. We can only cast our 1st level spell once per day, but that's okay because Gift of Alacrity lasts for a full 8 hours without concentration, and lets us or a friend add 1d8 to any initiative rolls we make during that period, to get a time-assisted jump on any fights that come our way. At 5th level, we get extra attack, to attack twice with the attack action, or 4 times with Action Surge, or 6 times with Action Surge and Unleash Incarnation. There actually aren't any more feats that I want for Dave, so for our 6th level ability score improvement, bump Dexterity up to 10 so we don't have a negative modifier. 7th level Echo Knights can be the other guy more effectively. As an action, we can transfer our consciousness to Doomed Dave, effectively cutting away to a different scene, as our main body is deaf and blind. For up to 10 minutes, we can see and hear through Doomed Dave, and he can move up to 1,000 feet away from us. I think the intent is that this can only be used for scouting, and you can't do the teleport or make attacks through him while using this, but that isn't in the rules at the moment, so go nuts until it's eroded. It's kind of a roundabout way to get a flying speed, since we can move him 1,000 feet through the air and then teleport to the endpoint and keep doing that, but I mean, Dave's first method of flight is Unreal Air, so this is probably an improvement. At 8th level, we get another ability score improvement. Bump Charisma to 16, we'll be needing to use it in just a few levels. Then at 9th level, we get Indomitable, so once per day we can mess with the timeline and re-roll a failed saving throw so that we don't become a Doomed Dave ourselves. For further Doom aversion, we can have our Doomed Self take hits for our friends. Once per rest, when another creature we can see is attacked, we can use our reaction to teleport our Doomed Self to a space next to that creature, and have the attack target our Doomed Dave instead. He only has 1 HP, but his AC is better than most of our friends, and actually better than ours as well. At 11th level, we get another extra attack, for 3 attacks with the attack action, or 6 with Action Surge, or 8 with Action Surge and Unleash Incarnation. We'll round off our fighter levels with one last ability score improvement, this time bumping Strength to 16 so those 8 attacks can hit harder. Jumping over to Sorcerer now for the Clockwork Soul. We learn certain clockwork spells at certain sorcerer levels, and we can switch them out for any abjuration or transmutation spells from the sorcerer, warlock, or wizard lists. Also, when we cast our sorcerer spells, there's some kind of visible effect, like, say, our arcane focus turning into floating turntables. First level clockwork sorcerers can use their time magic to restore balance, a number of times per day equal to our proficiency bonus. When a creature within 60 feet of us is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, we can use our reaction to cancel that advantage or disadvantage with a little bit of future knowledge. For our clockwork spells, we learn Alarm and Protection from Good and Evil, but we're going to switch Alarm out for Catapult, which launches an object out of our Sylladex at high speed, dealing 3d8 damage to whatever it hits, though a creature can make a dexterity save to avoid it. And Protection from Good and Evil wards us or a friend against fiends, fae, celestials, undead, aberrations, and elementals, giving those creatures disadvantage to attack the target, and preventing the target from being charmed, possessed, or frightened by one of those creatures. We do also learn non-clockwork spells, like Friends, which gives us advantage on charisma checks toward a certain creature for up to a minute, though afterwards they know we use magic on them. Blade Ward to give us resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a round. Prestidigitation to create minor sensory effects or clean objects, like if we accidentally spill apple juice on our copy of a very important game. And Light to see in the dark, since we can't see in the dark. We'll get Expeditious Retreat to let us dash with our bonus action, which should pair nicely with our mobile feat. And we can bust out some truly ill jams with Ray of Sickness. These sick fires deal 2d8 poison damage to the creature they hit, and poisons them if they fail a Constitution save. Second level sorcerers get a Font of Magic, a pool of sorcery points that we can exchange for spell slots and vice versa. We can also use them to power our meta magics to enhance our spells. Since Dave is a time player, take Extended Spell to double the duration of a spell that lasts for at least a minute, and Quickened Spell to cast a spell as a bonus action if it would normally take an action to cast. Third level sorcerers get second level spells. Misty Step lets us step through time to teleport 30 feet as a bonus action. And Dave has a thing about breaking swords, so we can use Shatter to deal 3d8 thunder damage to any creatures or objects in a 10-foot sphere if they fail a Constitution save. If a creature in the area is inorganic, like stone or metal, they have disadvantage on the save. For our clockwork magics, Lesser Restoration is kinda like a better version of Mending, letting us rewind a creature to end a disease or condition of blinding, deafening, paralysis, or poison that's affecting them. And we'll switch out Aid to grab some Unreal Air with Levitate. We get one last ability score improvement, which I'm going to use to bump Intelligence to 12, because 10 is a little bit lower than I think is right for Dave. We'll also pick up another cantrip. Booming Blade lets us attack with our sword, dealing an extra 3d8 thunder damage on a hit. Then, if the creature we hit moves at least 5 feet before our next turn, they take another 4d8 thunder damage. Rounding off our Sorcerer levels, we get 3rd level spells. Fly gives us a 60-foot fly speed, and Haste pushes our time powers to their maximum, doubling our movement speed, giving us +2 to our AC and advantage on dexterity saves. We also get another action that we can use to hide, disengage, dash, use an object, or attack, though when the spell ends, we can't do anything for a turn. And for our last clockwork magics, Protection from Energy gives us resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, so we can take the heat in our land or stand the cold in Jade's. And Blink gives us a 50% chance to jump to a different time period at the end of our turn to avoid attacks, then jump back when our turn starts. But we're missing our critically important, ridiculously awesome rap skills, so we'll finish up with 3 levels of Bard. Multiclassing into Bard gives us proficiency with any one skill and one musical instrument, so pick up Performance and DJ gear. Knights are a passive class whose main job is to help out their team, which we can do with Bardic Inspiration, a pool of d6s that refills on a long rest, and that we can pass out to our friends with our bonus action. They can then add those dice to one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw that they make in the next 10 minutes. For Bard cantrips, Vicious Mockery slams a fool with insults that forces them to make a wisdom save, dealing 4d4 psychic damage and giving them disadvantage on their next attack roll if they fail. And True Strike uses Future Knowledge to get advantage on one attack roll on our next turn. It's not good in combat, just attack more times, especially since Echo Knights get so many attacks, but it's got some use outside of combat if you really need to land a single attack. We'll pick up Featherfall for those in our group who can't fly, Detect Magic to find magical things, and Locate animals and plants to help with our frog breeding duties. We'll also get Unearthly Chorus to fill the air with our sick beats, giving us advantage on performance checks. While the music lasts, we can use our bonus action to force a charisma save on a creature. If they fail, they become friendly to us, and we get advantage on deception and persuasion checks against them. 2nd level bards are jacks of all trades, letting us add half our proficiency bonus to any ability checks we make that don't already use the full bonus, which does include our initiative. We also get Song of Rest to bust out some smooth jams during a short rest to heal our friends an extra d6, and Longstrider to increase our speed by 10 feet. I'm gonna be honest, I mostly went with Longstrider because I thought it was funny that it has Strider in the name, but combine it with Haste and we can dash up to 300 feet in a round for some real flash stepping. Our capstone is the 3rd level of Bard for our Bard College. The College of Valor expands the use of our Bardic Inspiration, letting our friends add them to their damage rolls and to their AC as a reaction to being attacked. We also get expertise in 2 skills, doubling our proficiency bonus for those skills. My picks for this are Insight and Athletics. And we'll finish up with Mirror Image to exploit our time powers to avoid attacks even more, making 3 doomed Daves that move around us. When we're attacked, we can roll a d20 to have that attack hit a doomed Dave instead. If there are 3, we have to roll at least a 6, if there are 2, we have to roll at least an 8, and if there's only 1, we have to roll at least an 11. Now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, as you might expect from a time player, we have great action economy, with ways to get multiple actions in a turn, or to use our bonus action to do things that normally use up our action. That means we also have insane burst damage. If we have haste up, we can burn our action surge and all of our Unleash Incarnations, plus a quickened booming blade to make 12 attacks in one round, dealing up to 14 d8 plus 55 damage with a one-handed sword. And we're incredibly difficult to hit. Blink and Mirror Image don't need concentration, so they can stack with each other and with Haste or Fly, and we can use Extended Spell to get even more use out of them. On the other hand, we don't have a whole lot in the way of magic damage. We have some cantrips, Ray of Sickness, and Shatter, but most of our damage comes from our sword. We also have limited resources, with only 5 sorcery points, 3 uses of Unleash Incarnation, and 3 Bardic Inspiration dice, which don't even refill on short rests like other bards since we didn't get to the 5th level of Bard. And finally, our stats are well-rounded, but they're still a little bit on the low side. Our lowest is a 10, but our highest is only a 16, so we can definitely have trouble with Dexterity, Intelligence, or Wisdom saves, but we can also have trouble with the saves that we actually have a 16 in. But characters with time powers tend to be strong, and Dave is really no exception. Use your mastery over the timeline to help your team grab victory, just make sure to use your alternate selves effectively, or you might end up being the doomed Dave. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, friends. I will see y'all later.